Man, we might have to have an uncomfortable conversation about this football team right now, and we might have to have an uncomfortable truth be revealed today. After that game yesterday with the Cleveland Browns, dude, we are in the blender right now. This is not good. This was supposed to be the easy part of the schedule. Yeah, Deshaun Watson played a little bit better. The problem is everything else went to crap for the Cleveland Browns yesterday. You fought a Raiders team without Devontae Adams, without Max Crosby, and now I've got serious concerns about where this team goes from here. We have a lot to recap from yesterday, but now my mind starts to go about the worry for the rest of this season. I've got mock drafts. I've got people already saying we should draft this guy. And it's like, we didn't even make it to October. Today, is it the last day of September? I don't even know. How many days are in September? Whatever. We didn't even make it to October. And we already got mock draft talks at 1-3. And our only win against one of the worst teams in football. We're not in a good place. We are not in a good place with the Cleveland Browns right now, but we got a lot to dissect from that game yesterday. And the one thing to avert our attention, though, the guards, dude, we get playoff baseball coming up this weekend. We got guards to talk about. Unfortunate on the rain out, and Jose Ramirez having a look at history. We'll discuss that. We've got playoff predictions coming up. We'll get to the good, the bad, ugly, and the Browns. Got to explain where the bracket is. We'll get to time op, morning update. We got it all for you on the complete opposite of a Victory Monday right here on Big Play. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Matt Fontana. He is Nick Padone and Pat McGuire. So guys, I got to tell you before we start, these two guys bust their ass this morning. We're in the other studio. They had water main work going on here in Berkeley. We've had a blender morning, but I don't think it was nearly as bad as the Cleveland Browns, because at least we didn't have to get on a plane and fly back and sit there and over think about what happened in that football game yesterday. And I thought about this a lot where, dude, that contingent of Browns fans that went out there, I'm so sorry. I feel so bad that I have friends. I know a lot of people that either went or knew people that went, and you spent your hard-earned money to go out there and watch that complete crap show yesterday. So that is another aside, and I know Raiders fans are probably laughing, like, oh, thanks for the money, thanks for the win. And it's almost like when, Appalachian State gets a win or Northern Illinois beats Notre Dame. You're like, oh, we paid you and you still came here and beat us? Like, that's kind of the opposite. We paid all this money to go out there, and the Browns still lose to the Raiders yesterday. And the uncomfortable truth that I think we got to talk about, watching that game and watching it again, I'm just going to ask a question. Are we a bad football? Maybe we suck. Maybe we really do suck. I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to think about what that game was yesterday, and I come back to maybe we just do suck. And I say that not as like the sky is falling, and I'm going to try to avoid the negativity of where this season is going to go and all this other kind of stuff. But I just sit here and I say, there were so many mistakes that the Browns had in that game. And I know it's coaches speak when they get up there and they say, well, give credit to the Raiders. I don't. There was nothing, and that's another problem with the Browns. There was nothing in that game that made me sit there and go, the Raiders really deserve to win that game. I'll talk that crap all day. I know Kevin Stefanski can't do that. Send that message to Antonio Pierce, who's already backing up on his comments about business decisions and all that other crap. But, I sit here and I say, there's so many mental errors and mistakes in that football game. That's why you lost. I don't think you could have beat St. Ed's JV squad making some of the mistakes that the Browns did yesterday. Now, again, did the Raiders capitalize? Sure. What are the three things you're going to look at? The three things out of that game that you're going to look at: Amari Cooper with the interception, the hold on Nick Harris, which we'll talk about, and nobody this morning is continuing to talk about Dustin Hopkins missing an extra point. You could have gotten a field goal range and at least gone to overtime. Those three things were the pivot point for that whole game. What guy didn't I mention there? Deshaun Watson. And this morning, it gets so, I'm going to use the word political because I can't think of a better word because I'm pretty simple in things. But it gets so political about you even say the words Deshaun Watson and people are like, wait, what are you saying here? And I sent the tweet out last night. He didn't play all that bad. And I instantly got the, what are you watching? And Cleveland media defends him. He played better. The bar was so low, but he played better and made some throws and made some plays that you go, okay, at least that's starting to turn around. It was just everything else that failed you in that game yesterday. Everything else didn't help. The defense, good God, can they not tackle right now? I don't know what the hell is going on with that. You have Myles Garrett on 2 busted feet still making plays to change things out there. There were only a couple of guys, and here's the weird thing, but I'll tell you this. There were only a couple guys that I felt like really showed up yesterday. Myles Garrett was one. Deshaun Watson was one. He showed up yesterday.
He did. He played a lot better, but Matt, for the people that are just like like you said, it's political. You can't say that he played well, but you also can't really say, like, if you say that he played poorly or here's where I'm at with the entire thing, right?
Yes.
I think
Good morning, Nick, by the way. I appreciate you coming in. Good morning. How are you? How are things?
We were able to get the show off the ground, which I'm very happy about.
It's been a morning, folks. I think like a lot of people that are stuck at the McCarran Airport. Is that McCarran? Is that Vegas? There's a lot of Browns fans sitting there, maybe a little hungover, really early in the morning trying to catch a flight to come home. So at least, we're not that bad. But hey, if you're sitting in the Vegas airport, hopefully we can get you through your layover here or whatever time you got. But good morning, Nick. I appreciate it.
Good morning. But I think where I'm at with this entire thing, Matt, is that the people that want to be upset about Deshaun Watson, even after that performance where he looked better, you have the right to be upset because at the end of the day, he is the quarterback of the 32 ranked offense in the NFL.
Sure.
And that's what comes with it. And that's what comes with the price tag. That's what comes with the arrogance that he has in the media at times. And we saw that all last week. I mean,
get your Leroy Bickerstaff shirts at bigplay.com, by the way, the Big Play store. We have our shirts out there.
Yeah, so like when you pair all those things together, I have a hard time defending the guy, even though he did play better yesterday.
Well, off of that, and I think you bring up a great point. You will search for what you want, right? You do that. If you're a defender, you're going to search and say, okay, that was a nice play. I like that he used his legs yesterday, not necessarily in designed runs, but what he needed to do. And if you're a detractor, you're going to find reasons to be a detractor. You're going to say he's paid $230 million. He's paid to elevate these guys around him. You are going to search for what fits your narrative. I'm not talking about just you. I'm saying in general, like when you look at Deshaun Watson, when I think I try to approach it as much in the middle as I can. And I watch that game and I go, it was good. He got better. The problem is everything else went bad. And that's when I look at this team truthfully. Were we bamboozled? Did you look at this team like a lot of us and said, oh, the defense will just do it again? Oh, the offensive line, it's not that big of a deal about Bill Callahan. Well, all those things came back and bit you in the ass yesterday, and that's why you lost. The offensive line cannot do anything anymore. You better hope you get Jack Conklin back. By the way, I was having this conversation this morning with somebody, with some of the workers here, great people here at Perk. And I was like, do you imagine a world that Nick Chubb comes back before Jack Conklin? Think about that. We are potentially, because Chubb's, I know his window is open. He's going to be weeks out. He's not coming back on Sunday. He's going to be weeks out. But we've actually entered a conversation where he might actually make it back before Jack Conklin. I don't know what the hell's going on with Jed Wills. And I'm also going to put it to Andrew Berry a little bit. You got to go do something. Yeah. You got to go make, and you might sit there and say the season's done. I got those texts this morning. This season is fried. Because that is what that game almost represents. Even when Watson played better, you still didn't score 20 points. You still couldn't get a win. Now, the Harris holding call, the missed kick from Hopkins, all that factors in. That's why you're so frustrated. Because you got what a lot of us was asking for. A better Deshaun Watson, and it still didn't matter. Because it's all the other things that are going bad. Watson can only do so much. And I said that about the Giants game. I said, when you got no time, what do you expect him to do? Now, Sunday was not the case, but again, he played okay. He played fine. And you could yell and say he didn't play well enough, he didn't win. Sure, and I ain't going to argue with people this morning because it's just bashing our heads against the wall. But the thing is, now you've got to look at everything else. When this season started, and we were just so right on Deshaun Watson, and we only had our blinders were up, and we were so tunnel visioned on Deshaun Watson. Now you open it up and go, we got other problems. We've got other issues going on now. And all of that is going to lead to a loss like it did yesterday.
Matt, and I think all of that comes from a place, though, of Cleveland fans were sold on Deshaun Watson as, this is the missing piece. If you get a franchise quarterback, a $230 million quarterback, the rest of the roster is ready to go. And we at least thought after what we saw of Jim Schwartz in the defense last year, and then how easy Joe Flacco made everything look, that, hey, maybe
yesterday just suck ass for that.
Maybe people are right. Maybe the Browns really were just a quarterback away. They had all the other pieces. They just needed consistent QB play. I don't know. Now everything's under a microscope because that might not be the case. Maybe not having 3 years worth of first-round picks is starting to show its ugly head. Maybe the 2 first-round picks that Andrew Berry did have in Jed Wills and Greg Newsome aren't the guys that we thought that they were. Maybe some of the hidden gem finds like a DeJuan Jones, like a Jerome Ford, aren't as good as what we thought. Everything is going to be under a microscope when you're 1-3. You got a Washington Commanders team coming up that looks pretty damn good.
Hottest team in the league right now. And it's like,
it's not great.
It's not. No, and you look at it now through a new lens where, okay, you see with the Giants, and that was a tough game Thursday night against Dallas, but okay, maybe the Giants are a little better than we thought. The Raiders, they came up on the Ravens, who looked, oh my God, just insane last night. Maybe the Raiders are a little better than you thought. Now the Commanders are a little bit better. The issue, more than anything right now, what do we know? Our arrow's pointed down. There are teams that their arrow is pointing up, and a lot of that is quarterback play or how you feel about the team. Our arrow is pointing down. The issue is there something to rally this team to get it swayed back the other way? Because if not, it's going to be a long 4 months around here. It's going to be really hard to keep this together. And Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry are just fine, but like that, if they didn't have that new contract, we'd be talking about firing a coach and moving on. That's how bad things are for the Browns right now.
I don't want to go there, and obviously it's Monday at 9:17 a.m. Yeah. I just want to say, I don't know that I put that contract, like, there's a world where the earth goes dark in Cleveland and in Berea, and we've both lived this world before, Matt.
Yeah, we made it through Y2K.
Yeah, and they find ways to win, maybe 2 or 3 more. In a doomsday scenario, I don't know that they're both safe. When your owner's Jimmy Haslam and he has the deep pockets that he has, I mean, Freddie Kitchens and Hugh Jackson just got off this payroll not too long ago.
Well, the thing is, you got to come back to, you got to ask yourself, and again, I don't want to have that conversation either, but it's like, I still believe that these are the right guys to turn things around. There are just mistakes on the field, right? What is wrong with Amari Cooper? Seriously. And I know he had the 80-yard, and we'll get to the Harris holding in a second, but like these dropped passes, the fact that he's just picking up like little 8-yard, and dink and dunk was all over Twitter. It's like a trending phrase in Cleveland yesterday because that's all we had, probably in part because of the offensive line. But like Amari Cooper has no more impact on this team right now. Even when they're finding him the football, again, outside of what should have been that touchdown, it doesn't seem like he's down the field like he was. It's this dink and dunk short crap, which I don't know if that helps Watson, if they were just trying to build Watson up. It seems like they're searching. They're trying all this different stuff to see what is going to work for Deshaun Watson. The problem is you're losing football games. You are spending time trying to find out what works for Deshaun Watson, and you're losing football games while you're doing that. Now, again, that is something I wanted this whole season, was to get an answer on Deshaun Watson. This would be a lot easier if he just sucked. This would be so much easier if you were just straight up losing because of Deshaun Watson. Can't say that yesterday. You lost for a lot of different reasons. I'm going to try to keep this on the rails for right now. But is they're drilling.
Dude, they are like,
they're doing like massive work.
I know, like, all the people online that are like, Burke is closing, like one I'm from Cleveland Instagram story like sends the whole city in a tizzy.
They're doing a lot of work for a place that's about to be shut down.
Dude, and I mean, like, crazier things have happened, right? Like, and it is like city fun, so who cares? They got to throw it at something, but I mean, they've been drilling in this place for what feels like months.
It's been months they've been working. I'm going to keep it on the rails here. Cover the kids' ears, Nick. That was a bullshit holding call. And I'm not saying that because I'm just a Browns fan or just because it cost us potentially that win. That was ticky-tack. Now, the problem is what they saw was a jersey getting yanked. And that, when you see that jersey get pulled, it's automatic. It is automatic that they are going to throw that. And I know Nick Harris on the fumbled snap, too, which didn't help. I'm sure he was not feeling great on that flight. And it led what? Because your offensive line, because Posick was out again. That's a bullcrap call. And people are screaming about Miles gets held and you don't call it. It's like, the NFL, they always got this thing. Right? For a little while, it was PI. Then it was holding. Now it's on these linemen that aren't on the offensive line. They've got these focused calls, and you hammer it home. There's no consistency. There is none. I understand why they threw that flag. I 100% understand why. It was wide open on the field. It wasn't in the trenches. It wasn't a run play where it's all kind of jumbled up. It was wide open for the ref to see, and all you saw was a black jersey getting tugged. You throw the flag. Now, what I was praying to God is that they sat there and they go, did you really see it? And pick the flag up. I get that they threw it right away, but didn't you talk about it? Killed you. Absolutely killed you. When in hindsight, that was weak. I get that it was technically holding and that jersey got tugged. That is pretty freaking weak. And it cost us the game.
And I mean,
I don't, it's like
Myles Garrett said it best too. When they asked Myles about it after the game, and he just kind of like smiled and said, "I like my money. I've seen worse and I've lived through worse."
Yeah, they can't come out. That's money going straight to the NFL, and you criticize the officials for a second, and you want to know why? Because the NFL knows that they aren't all that good at their job. With all the cameras, and I'm not saying that you need to get into replaying penalties and challenging penalties and all that other kind of stuff. You send it in the league, they will do nothing, and it costs you. Hopkins extra point. That
cost you. Because imagine...
and I almost thought about a Twitter question this morning about this, but which one do you think cost you more?
The
extra point or the Harris holding?
Then had he made that extra point, and who knows what would have happened with the field goal at the end of the game. You could always play that game. But I mean, Watson did his job at that point. You were in field goal range.
You did 100%.
You kick the field goal, tie the game, and at least go to overtime instead of whatever that fourth down mess was where he held onto the ball. They didn't even send anybody safe for the first down. They were just going chuck it into the end zone. You had the game at least tied.
Yeah, and then maybe they play the defense different because they know you need to score a touchdown. That's all lost to the game itself. The decision for him to punt, too, in the first half, getting towards halftime, because you go, hey, man, that'd be about a 58-yarder. That Hopkins aced the first one with room to spare.
And then that makes me wonder, well, did that decision throw his confidence on that extra point?
Yeah.
Was he just a little bit out of his normal rhythm? We know how these kickers are.
Yeah. And I look at it from this standpoint. I know Stefanski was asked about it, and he kind of gave the non-answer about his decision there. What he was saying was, or what I think went into that decision, number one, when they first kicked it, the field goal he made, and I'm all for being aggressive and going for it, that was 1,000% the right call, was to kick the first field goal. Now, the second one, when you punted away, what he was saying was he misses, we're giving them the ball midfield right here, short time, and they get the ball to start the second half. That's probably what went into the decision to punt. When you coach scared, when you play scared, you're going to be beat. That's just how that goes. Again, hindsight of all these decisions and all of this other kind of stuff, the factor goes in. But I thought about that, of what do you think was the bigger cost? And again, the interception too. That was earlier where you were able to kind of overcome that a little bit. And I think you got a payback of that fumble, which I saw going out of bounds. I was sitting there, I was like... Because a lot of times on those fumbles, you see the guys try to scoop and score, and then they just start kicking it all around, and you're like, just pick the ball up, just get the ball. And I saw McLeod, and I was like, oh God, he's gonna get it. But I was waiting for somebody to kick it out of bounds. I was so waiting for that to happen. So the interception, you overcame that in a way, or at least I'll say it's a wash. You know what I mean? Of you got your touchdown, they got that interception and that. But you go back to the holding call or the missed kick, and which one impacted it more? I'm kind of with you, Nick. I really do think, Because again, if we had scored that
Should we
touchdown,
put a poll out?
yeah, put it out at Matt Fontana Show. Drop us a follow there. You can always follow us on Twitter X. You can always up on Instagram. Do the Twitch channel and on YouTube. By the way, just a housekeeping note. I want to do the giveaway. So, we finally got the grid last week. So I'm going to do another giveaway. Should I announce what the giveaway is? Tell everybody what it is?
That's up to you.
All right.
If you feel like it.
I'll make the quick announcement here. I'm going to get somebody out there some Guardians postseason swag. This is going to be on me because I ordered some myself, and I go, you know what? We're going to get some out. So I'm going to get it. I'm between a hoodie or a T-shirt. I think people would like the hoodie more. The T-shirt is more, you can use it
I was
more.
gonna say the T-shirt.
I kind of like the T-shirt. I think you wear it more.
Yeah.
So that will
The
be.
hoodie you probably wear it like if you're going to a
That's
late
what I was
season
thinking
game.
about.
But
So I think it's going to be a nice T-shirt. They have some really nice postseason swag on Fanatics. So that will be the giveaway. We're just kind of off it. Like, we just got a lot going on. So that'll be the giveaway this week. I'll just do this. Go follow, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've done Twitter before. This one is going to be if you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, somebody out there is going to win some postseason Guardian swag. So that'll be it. So we'll get to that coming up in a little bit as the week rolls on with things like that. But because with the grid, maybe we start another streak this week. We'll see how it goes. But you talk about, how did I start that? I was talking about the giveaway. I got so sidetracked.
We were talking about, and then Pat walked in here to grab some. So much going on. We were talking about what cost the Browns more. I'm putting the poll out.
Oh, that's it. I said follow us. That's what got me. I was like, follow us. Just do that. Just follow us.
This is how crazy this morning is. I like, for whatever reason, the Twitter is not logged in on this computer, so I'm literally sending it out. Like, I logged in.
Thank you very much
the show
for doing that.
account.
Yeah,
from the phone.
So drop us a follow there. Because I was going to say, yes, please follow our YouTube channel because that is where our giveaway is going to be coming up later this week for the Guardian swag. But, yeah, I mean, the holding call, it negated the touchdown. The extra point, I think, changed the game so much there. To go back to Watson on that throw, that's the kind of stuff. And it's, like, hard because all these negative stats about the Browns offense, they only have 10 plays all season of more than 10 yards. It's either 10 or 20 plays of 10 yards or more. I believe this stat is they're the only team in the NFL to not have a play over 40 yards this season. 4 ripped off a 35-yarder. You would have had the 80-yarder with Amari Cooper. I think we're the only team in the NFL without a 40-yard play on this season. And it all comes back to the explosiveness of this offense. And I started this season by saying we got to build Deshaun Watson back up, and we got to try to recreate this quarterback. Well, eventually, you're going to have to pull the reins off. And I think now, at this pivotal junction of the season, in week freaking 5, that we're at a pivotal point of the season, you might not have a choice but to pull the reins off and say it's going to have to be on Deshaun Watson. Playing behind an offensive line that's not doing them any help. Receivers that are dropping passes. You got no run game to talk about. Defense can't tackle anybody. You might eventually just have to say, we're going to have to speed this process up. And Deshaun, get after it. Get after it. And what that looks like on offense, I don't know, because again, what are we talking about today? Where the hell's Bill Callahan?
Yep.
Andy Dickerson? People don't even want to let him back in the county at this point. What the hell's going on with Ken Dorsey? Like, you're trying to solve all these problems. The issue is there is not one solution. You'd like the one solution to be Deshaun Watson because that is the thing that all quarterbacks, and they can mask problems and they can do all that. Eventually, you might have to turn to that. But you have so many problems, and I think the problem, a lot of the issues are, it ain't just one thing, man. It's not just one thing right now.
What makes it all so much more difficult is I thought the offense looked at their best yesterday when Deshaun Watson was running with the football in 100%. His own hands. And that came like days after he said that he's not a running back and he doesn't want to do that much. So that just adds a whole nother wrinkle into it. It's like, well, you're kind of good at it and we kind of need you. We kind of need you to move the ball somehow.
The design stuff, sure. And I think that's what he's talking about. I don't want RPOs like Lamar or like Josh Allen. But when he feels the pressure and can evade it, but he also a lot of times keeps his eyes still down the field, right? And that's what you need is to find the Amari Cooper. That dime that he threw, was it Jerry Jeudy?
Jeudy looks awesome.
Great.
Jeudy
he
looks really
fine.
good.
He looks fine. He looks good. Elijah Moore and his dad.
How about
on
his
Twitter
dad?
now,
How about his
dude?
dad?
Come on, like, are we there already?
His dad walked it back too. If
Did he?
you're gonna put it out there, you can't walk it back.
Oh, I'd say the same thing to Antonio Pierce, man. You're gonna go out there and say business decisions, and then after the game, it was maybe I shouldn't have said that. For those that don't know, Elijah Moore's dad was on Twitter, and he was,
He was pulling an OB senior.
said. Well,
Yep.
then the other thing off social media, what is everybody? And I know Dave put that clip out too. He ain't wrong, man. The sleuths, the arrows, all these guys are open, and Watson and
So here's my
sack.
thing. Here's my only thing on that.
Yeah.
You got to throw the ball. At least
No,
give
yeah,
at
that-
least
you can't
give
take a
somebody
sack,
a chance,
Yeah.
to do something heroic.
Right.
But I mean, when you, like you said at the beginning of the show, when you have your kind of like agendas and you're out to prove whatever point, you could take any screenshot from any play in any game and use it to your argument.
Yeah.
That one happened to be pretty convenient, that there were some guys open. There was a little bit of pressure. At the end of the day, you got to throw that football. I mean, it's 4th down. You can't just hold on to it, dance around, and take another hit. And that's another piece of all this, too, is with the O-line, Watson's taking a ton of hits.
Dude, how about this?
Like, this was the time last year where...
16 pressures.
Yeah.
Nick. We have had double-digit pressures in all 4 of our games this year. That was not TJ Watt. Now, again, it was Micah Parsons, who's good.
Yep,
Josh
good.
Hines Allen, fine.
Good.
But, okay, even Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. Bro, that was not Max Crosby out there. That was like Robert Spillane, who I think is kind of an a-hole player, to be honest. Dude, it got chippy. Another thing out of that game yesterday, how many times were guys walking away and just throwing shoulders into the opposing team? And I was like, where's our fight? That's like the other issue about where we stand as a team right now is a lot of the mental side of this, where you're going to have the fortitude to wake up this morning, go into Berea, and still find a way to go beat the Commanders. I got pissed off last week, and I'm going to try not to get pissed off again this morning. I'm not done yet. This season is not over. It can't be over now. So I need this team to sack up and find a way to turn this around. If not, then I'll start talking mock drafts. And I'll start talking about, well, is it Shedeur Sanders? Is it Carson Beck? I cannot be there yet. It's not even October. And even in the worst years that we had, it was never this early. I can't go there yet. Not yet, man. The problem is, beyond the X's and O's, I have a horrible feeling that this team is going to start looking for reasons to quit. And when that happens, you get your coach fired. You get guys sitting out with injuries. You got guys starting to think about where they're playing football next year. You got guys starting to think about the trade deadline and getting me out of here. We have got to hold that off. More than anything, right now with this team, they have an avalanche that is about to hit them square in the face. That avalanche, give up. Give up. It's over. At 1-3, your playoff chances are like 13%. Not win the division, just to make the playoffs. You haven't even played a division game yet. And you're sitting here, and I just have a bad feeling these guys are going to look for reasons to quit. You have got to fight that off. And that's going to be the job of who? Kevin Stefanski. And people are super upset with Stefanski right now because what are you going to say in postgame? I need to be better. I need to find a way. Remember when Kevin said last week, he goes, we have to get the protection better, and that falls on me. 16 pressures, Kevin. 16. Job not accomplished. Back to the drawing board. Now, I take a page out of Doug Peterson's book yesterday, which is probably not a good book to be reading right now. But what did he say yesterday? He basically ripped his players. They asked him, like, dude, you're on the hot seat. You're 0-4. You played better. They had Houston on the ropes. And he goes, coaches aren't the one playing, man. He said that. He said that yesterday. We're not the ones playing. And that's putting a little onus back on your guys. Eventually, yes, that has to happen. But when you see this storm that the Browns have kind of self-created, right? This storm of what they have dealt with, Are we all that shocked? How did I start the show? I said, maybe we have to have the uncomfortable conversation. Maybe we're not that good. And it's so hard because you sit there and say, well, look what we did last year and look how we did that. And you got to realize when people say that, it is so year to year, right? It is so year to year.
Look at the Commanders.
Look at the Commanders, how quickly they turn around. Now, again, you got the Chiefs, who are still freaking really good. You got the Bills, who are still really good. I know last time was an ass whooping, but all right, fine. You have teams that you're like, man, they're good from year to year. But you just understand how much can truly change. And maybe we saw all these signals, all these things that we didn't want to give our attention to realize we just maybe aren't that good. And you would look at the roster and you'd say, there's no way. But, dude, Miles is not 100%. And he's still out there busting ass. Your offensive line is nothing, is absolutely nothing right now. You're missing David Njoku. Amari Cooper is Amari Cooper only in name at this point.
You know, speaking of guys that you're a little bit worried about, maybe have they mailed it in? Are they looking for a reason to mail it in? I currently, as we sit here today on Monday, would have Amari Cooper's name atop that list. Friend of Big Play, really, Jake Burns, already kind of putting out there this morning, Browns film breakdown. Amari ran the wrong route at the end of that game, and maybe that's why Deshaun held the ball for so long. Was just looking at what is Amari doing here and why is he going that way? As we try to rationalize what happened, especially with that interception. I mean, you look at again, try to find screenshots that fit narratives. Amari Cooper was wide open. Watson hit him right in the two. I would hear an argument if the pass was here or if it was here. Right. It was right in the two.
And Judy made that really nice catch. There were some throws that, we completed whatever. That one was perfect. There was nothing wrong with that. You know,
and it feels, and Matt, when we start talking about all of these things, and I'm not willing to give up, I'm right there with you. I'm not giving up. I'm not throwing in the towel yet.
I can't.
But when you start factoring all of these goofy things together, that Cooper just doesn't look right, the kicker that's been automatic Johnson is missing extra points, the quarterback finally shows up after 3 weeks of just looking horrible. I've seen a lot of people out there saying, and I'm not willing to go there yet, but it does. That performance against the Raiders just reminded you of same old Browns.
And that's exactly, that is what they've got to fight
because
off.
they let their quarterback down in every single opportunity. They had 3 opportunities to put together a game-winning drive, and at the end, Watson did have a game-winning. He put it together. You were right there, and you still couldn't win that game against the Las Vegas Raiders without Devontae Adams and without Max Crosby. That made me so sick, too.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to turn on Sunday Night Football. Carrie's about to do the anthem, and Tarico's in there, and he's going, recapping what happened around the league, that Adams was out, and he could be shopped because they don't know the future of what the Raiders are going to be. I'm like, we just lost him, and we don't know what their future is going to be.
I hate it so much because in the background it scrolls the scores, and it ruins your Sunday night because you're like, I don't want to watch that. You just see the score, scroll it again over and over and over again. Then I sent the tweet, and I go, the only thing that can maybe redeem this freaking day is if the Ravens get smoked and Lamar goes, F you, Matt, take this. Derrick Henry. By the way, did you see that bet? That guy, that FanDuel. I saw this on the Action Network. A $2,000 wager.
I did see this.
Anytime touchdown, he needed Derrick Henry to cash $100,000.
And it did.
Play for your own God.
87 yards. Goodbye.
God.
How did the league, similar to how did the league let the Chiefs get Xavier Worthy? How did the league let Baltimore get Derrick Henry? Maybe everybody thought he was washed because of one bad year with Will Levis.
And I tell you that, man. I was putting so much Maloik and crap on the Ravens, hoping that they would suck and that Derrick Henry was washed, and he's done nothing but sticking on my rear end at this point. We'll go around the league tomorrow, but it's like, dude, oh my God, that was a hard thing. You sit there all day and you're like, well, maybe we can catch one here. Bengals in the win column. Steelers thankfully lost, but it's like, that's a hard thing. I can't even focus on the rest of that. I can't even think about the playoffs right now until we correct the problems that the Browns have here. And this was, again, The easy part, bro, you have the Eagles in a couple of weeks. Then you start getting into your division games. The Chiefs are still waiting. Like,
I don't want to play, dude. And it's what's crazy to say is like it's been so easy to look over the fence at the rest of the AFC North and laugh at Cincinnati because you guys can't figure out the Jamar Chase thing. It's been easy to laugh at the Ravens, like, oh, how did you guys start out 0-2? The Steelers, oh, you guys are playing Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, 2 quarterbacks. You don't even really have one.
right.
But now it's not as funny. I don't want to play any of those teams right now.
No.
It's not that funny at all.
And that's, again, how this team can rally from this. And I do, okay, so we're going to do the good, the bad, and the ugly here in a second. I did want to do this morning. We got to pull some positives out of this, okay? And I get it. You have every right to be upset this morning. You have every reason to be pissed off this morning, and we all are. But there's still some things that we've got to pull out of this. Number one, Watson did look better. And I know people can bitch at me on Twitter. They can tell me I don't know football. They can say, well, he wasn't good enough. I get he still was better. He still played better. Not enough. You have yet to crack 20 points. Fine. Got it. But there were still progression. There was still throws that I say, if we could just get him back into the semblance of something, then I can work with that. You know, I felt like this season started with us trying to carry Deshaun Watson along, or everybody else needed to play their jobs and just carry Deshaun Watson. If you can get Watson up to a mid-level starting type of quarterback, then maybe something else will start to click. So at least there were those throws. Myles Garrett, still a game right. Even on bad feet and all, you got that. Another positive. I didn't think Zach Zinter played all that bad. So you're all worried about Wyatt Teller. Okay, you have that. Now you got to get Hudson figured out. You got to get DeJuan Jones figured out. But there were some things that you can still try to pull it out because we ain't done. You can't be done. There's no way that you can wrap this up right now. You've got to find a way to rally this. And that's where the mental side and how much this team has left is going to tell you everything you need to know. All right, let's get to it. We always do it on Mondays. We call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. So some of the good that I've already mentioned there was some of the things. Number one, I said Watson used his legs and he had some good throws. So at least that's there. Number two, Myles Garrett, even on 2 bad feet, is still unblockable at times, and you can build that around the defense. And my final good, Nick Padone, those Raiders uniforms still just hit.
They do. It was an elite uniform matchup. Browns uniform solid. I love the white throwbacks.
Well, you know what? And this is kind of a weird thing for me, but you know what I love about that? They still played on a grass field. So you got some grass stains. Like, yeah, unfortunately, some of those aren't our quarterback, but that's all right. You know, like I thought it was an elite. I thought that was an elite uniform matchup there. All right, the bad. I want to get super specific on something about the offensive line. When I say the word stunt, I think most people that know football, but let me explain it to everybody out there if you don't know. You have let's just say 4 defensive linemen, right? You could run where all 4 of your guys just run after your offensive lineman and try to, get to the quarterback. A stunt is a twist. Here's your D tackle. Here's your DN. He goes this way. That DN goes on inside. What was the one play? Was it K'Lavon Chasen, who I forgot was still in the NFL, elevated from the practice squad? What did he do? On the Watson play, he ran all the way around. He started over the left guard, ended up coming all the way around the right tackle, and then eventually ended up tackling Deshaun Watson. That's a stunt. Bro, we cannot handle them. I don't know why. And it's like, listen, James Hudson has to have some sort of talent. He wouldn't be in the NFL if he didn't. It's the other stuff. And maybe it's because all these guys are going in, but I really think this is Bill Callahan. They cannot handle stunts. How many times was Batonio sitting there looking like this and looking at Hudson, and they go, well, that was supposed to be your guy. Then when Watson gets in the face of DeJuan Jones and starts clapping him, and it looked like Jameis wanted to kill him on the sidelines, that was something that they weren't communicating, or they didn't know how to handle simple stunts. Nick, that has got to be Bill Callahan not being here. That has to be it. So again, the play, sure, James Hudson is not an elite tackle, okay? DeJuan Jones, for some ungodly known reason, has hit a massive regression. Absolutely massive regression. Okay, fine. But it's the other stuff that, frankly, in my opinion, has nothing to do with talent. It's when are you passing this guy off? What zone am I supposed to be looking for? It's that kind of crap that we're not doing right now. Very specific. Again, the O-line's not playing well, But if I boil it down, the book is out. You want to know something else about this now? About where you're at right now? That book is out on how to beat this offensive line. You got to change something. And that's where, listen, man, I don't know Andy Dickerson, okay? And I know he was in Seattle and he came here and all that kind of stuff. But, dude, and it's hard for me to sit here and point and say, like, dude, this is all his fault. But when you had a guy that was elite and now it's not, it's hard to not sit there and point and go, dude, we have a massive
You got to
problem
figure it out.
Yeah,
I mean,
because you're right. You have no choice.
You got to figure it out. And I don't know. Maybe it's a parlay of Dickerson, Stefanski,
Can
and
I hit
Dorsey.
that parlay? I need to hit a freaking parlay.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe the parlay that needs to be hit is those three characters sitting down in a room and saying, how are we gonna figure this out?
Yeah.
Because Greg Williams says on this network all the time, when you point fingers at the O-line, he always looked at the quarterback and said, just get rid of it quicker. I think it needs to be a hybrid of both, though, because you can't have two turnstiles at tackle. Like, it's not that Watson can't roll left, he also can't roll right. And last year, like, to your point of Dickerson, like, it wasn't like Joe Flacco had Joe Thomas out there protecting his blind side. Like, they pulled Jerron Christian off the straight to do that job, and it was fine. So you just have to figure this out. And I think the frustration mounts because we've seen it be done before. We know that it can be figured out. So figure it out.
Yeah, no, and it's a great point too, because Greg and I had a conversation. I was talking to him last week and came in for Bruce's show. And Greg said that on his show, and it's right now. They know in between that lines. In between the lines, when they get out there, whether or not we're breaking down film on Twitter or not, those players in there know what is supposed to be done, what it's supposed to look like. The thing that I think is missing with that O-line right now with Bill Callahan is there are little nuanced things to elevate, an offensive line. This is a really, really weird comparison, but it's just what popped into my head. Will you follow me this on Nick Pinot? Have you ever seen the movie Fighter? Mark Wahlberg? You ever see that one? It's a good flick, right?
I have.
Christian Bale won Academy Award for.
Dude, I'm not movie guy.
That's okay.
I'm sorry, man.
So here, I'm just gonna make this. So in the fight, it was based off a true story. Mickey Ward was his name. Okay, so Mickey Ward was a giant underdog, and he goes into this fight, and he starts the fight, and he's kind of getting beat up, and his brother, who was incarcerated, but he was a champion boxer, he gave him a tip, and he goes, "Do this." And I'm not saying it was unsavory. But what I'm saying is with the Browns offensive line, to go to the movie Fighter, and he told him, go to the body. Stop hitting him in the head. Go to the body. The Browns offensive line, you are deficient. Find your body shot. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to find a way that, again, I'm not saying unsavory. I'm not saying that you're cheating, but you got to start finding something that gives you an advantage. You are deficient. If you line up A versus A and you say, bring it on, gonna get our asses kicked. So what can I do to tilt this in our favor? What can Andy Dickerson do to take this offensive line and say, straight up, we're going to get beat? What can we do? Lie, cheat, and steal. Something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to get in there and say, maybe we got, and I'm not saying a holding because they're going to call it, but what I'm saying is, you got to do something. You straight up, we're not good enough. So what are we going to do to twist this in our favor a little bit?
And maybe glass half full, Matt. Like, I'm almost kind of thinking / hoping glass half full. Like, maybe in a world where Njoku comes back and you could start chipping guys a little bit more. Maybe that can help. But you're right.
Maybe Nick Chubb can help some of that because
you'd hope.
We're looking at it,
but that also too. I just can't keep going back there because like that still to me is weeks off. Like you got to figure this out now, so Chubb can come back before the season's long.
That's like, dude. Then you start talking about it. You even bring him back. No, he's gonna come back. But you're right. And if you can't run behind an offensive line, Nick Chubb's a superhuman. I get it, dude. Nobody blocking for him. He ain't gonna go anywhere, right? The problem is there is no threat of the run game right now. Like, there's nothing. I seriously, I'm trying to be glass half full on this. There's nothing our offensive line does well. Nothing.
There's nothing the offense does.
No, I was thinking about that. There's really nothing
I was thinking about
well.
This morning. Like, when that offense takes the field, is there anybody that really invokes fear in you? There's not to me.
Dude, I read that with Dan Graziano, or Jeremy Fowler said that. We're getting ready to go for the season, talking about Deshaun Watson. He goes, we are only a few years removed when he would walk into stadiums and teams knew, dude, we're kind of screwed today. That's that guy over there. That's gone. But you're right. The offense, starting with the O-line, there's nothing that they do well. There's nothing they can say, hey, man, this is going bad. Let's just go back to our bread and butter. What is our bread and butter right now? We don't have any. We don't have any.
There's no identity. There is
Nothing.
no identity. And what's
Nothing.
crazy is as the days prolong, it feels like we stray further and further from having an
That's
identity,
a good point. No,
which is
you're
scary.
Right. That's a good point, too, because, again, you're trying to get back to that middle. You're trying to get there, and it feels like you're further away. All right, so that was first bad. Offensive line, it's all bad. Next up on the good, the bad, and the ugly, Amari Cooper. And how is the contract not part of this? Seriously. And I'm not one that is acting like I'm in Amari Cooper's head. I will almost never call out a player for effort or things like that because I think it's frankly unfair. Also, Nick, I really don't think it's an effort problem. I don't.
No, I mean, he's open.
There's just something there.
Yeah.
And if it is the money, if it's the want, I don't know what it is. And you have no choice but to keep throwing him the football. And yesterday, did he not have he and Judy 8 and 7 targets? I think something like that. If I pull it up quick here, something like they're still throwing him the football. And I do think wide receivers are a little like shooters in basketball. Just keep shooting. You're not going to find your stroke unless you keep shooting. So you're going to have to keep throwing. Here it is. Judy, 9 targets. Amari, 8. So again, not 7 and 8, 9 and 8. So you had 17 of your 32 dropbacks going to those two guys. Then Jerome Ford had 7, which is not good. But again,
I mean, I will say, Watson looked so good because half of his balls were to Jerome.
7 out of 7, Jerome Ford. And again, the completion percentage was high just because of that. That is a ratio that I don't mind. Half of the targets, when that ball's going in the air, better go to Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper. Cooper, 4 receptions on those 8. And again, 1 got called back on the holding and the other was the interception. He did have 8.8 yards average. But again, I felt like some of those were just like 7 and 6 yarders, this dink and dunk crap. They have got to come to some sort of understanding about what needs to happen with Amari Cooper, okay? And I'll be lying to you if I didn't say it creeped into my head about if this keeps going bad, maybe you do trade him away.
I know, it creeped into mine too. I'm not letting
everybody's got it, right? The thing is, there's 2 ways to look at that. It's if he, and again, I don't know this because I'm not in his head, I'm not calling him out for this, but is this truly a malcontent situation? Is this something where it is so broken that it's like a toxin that eventually just bleeds to the rest of that locker room? If that's the case, got to cut that and move on. But if it's a guy that is just frustrated and he's still leader, okay, I'm just going to go down this path for a second. Browns come out, they trade away Amari Cooper. It ain't working here. He don't want to be here anymore. Moving on. That either galvanizes your team or you got the rest of those guys saying, can I go with them? That's
if you flip that coin today,
if you
flip that coin today, I have a bad feeling that a lot of those guys would say that they're going with
I want to
him.
get out of here too, right? Because that's where you're at.
Yep.
So you're going to need him not on a long-term contract because let's call that for what that is. Why would he be invested? Why would he say, I'm going to bust my ass here to keep, because you're going to need guys like that to keep this together. Right now, it's easy to be fractured. It's easy for everybody to kind of go their own way. You're going to need veteran guys to piece this back together. Amari Cooper needs to be one of those guys. Human nature, why would he? He owes nothing more to the Cleveland Browns other than this season. And if this season's going on the track that he thinks it is, what's the point? I get it. That's human nature type of stuff that I'm talking about here. And you would say, well, man, you're getting paid and, have some respect for yourself and all that kind of stuff. It's just not even that side of it, of the mental side or whether or not. It's just on the field, too. I need Amari Cooper to be Amari Cooper, all right, where we have all these other problems. If you add in a guy that you think should be your number 1 receiver, and I know is talented enough to be your number 1 receiver, and he's not, that is yet another mountain that we have to overcome. That is yet another thing that we're going to have to figure out with Amari Cooper. My gut tells me right now here today, I'm still in the Amari Cooper business, okay? I'm still in on Amari Cooper on this football team. And I'm going to keep throwing him passes, and I'm going to keep getting him involved. That's truly where I'm at with him, but there's something going on. And I do think the mental side of just the ball coming his way, he probably was used to a lot more catches, right? I had some people bring this up to me yesterday, Nick. How many passes those guys get in real games in preseason? Oh, they've had years that they've worked together. Not really.
Right.
There's something to be said about learning about how your quarterback, where the ball is going to be placed, how it's coming out, all that other kind of stuff. Those guys didn't play in the preseason. Oh, they got joint practices, Matt. They played all that. And I don't mean to bring up revisionist history. It doesn't really matter. We're here today. But there seems to be a disconnect. Does there seem to be a disconnect between Watson and Jerry Jeudy? I don't think so. And I get it. That's probably like his little security blanket. And yeah, if I had to pick one of those two scenarios, that's the one I'd rather have because Jerry Jeudy is going to be here. I think Deshaun Watson's going to be here, but we'll find that out. Like, if that's how it's going to have to go, sure. But the reintegration, I do feel like Cooper's on the outside right now. You got to reintegrate him on this offense. You got to get him back in here and get it going because if not, it's going to be even worse.
It's almost a scenario where they need to go out of their way. And what's crazy is they just did. They did that in the Giants game where they threw him the football first. That was the one read. It was the only read. We're going to Cooper here. It's going for a touchdown. You maybe got to try to do that 2 or 3 times.
Dude, throw him 5 passes on the first drive. Get him involved, get him there, and tell him you're going to be a big piece of this. Next up on the bad, why can we not tackle all of a sudden? And, this defense in today's NFL with no hip drop tackles and all that, I see this. And, again, I've never been on an NFL field and tried to tackle anybody, right? They just throw their bodies, Nick. I don't see anybody wrap up anymore. I don't see anybody. They just literally throw their bodies at their knees, hoping they get tripped up. That is something that is taught. And being out of training camp for a little bit, I saw emphasis from Joe Woods and now even Jim Schwartz on how you want to tackle. That was one of the worst tackling games I've seen under Jim Schwartz. And maybe that's where the NFL is at today, and you're trying to avoid all these other problems. But, Nick, this defense of what we thought it was going to be. What are you missing on this defense? Nothing. Mike Hall. That's it.
Yeah, which what were you going to get? We thought, Matt, remember when they drafted Mike Hall and we thought it was going to be a luxury that he didn't have to play all the time. We don't need him to be Superman. This defensive line looks like a joke outside of Myles Garrett.
In the hell is Zadarius Smith and Obo Okoronkwo?
Milk carton.
Seriously, put them on a freaking milk carton. This town might be better off putting them on a case of garage beer. That'll get spread out a little bit faster. Where in the hell has Zadarius Smith and Obo Okoronkwo been? Oh, wait. You got Alex Wright out there making plays ahead of these guys. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, fine. That, and then the secondary, MJ is just, he's getting picked on now at this point. Denzel, fine. I'm a big Grant Delpit fan, man. Haven't seen much from him. The fact that we just thought we were going to run. I remember a Cam Mitchell play yesterday before I remember a freaking Grant Delpit play from yesterday. Seriously. You want to know what reminds me of Delpit? When he's running towards the edge trying to catch Trey Tucker and he goes in for the freaking touchdown. Now, he's very fast. I'm not saying he's not. But, it's just running this defense back. What we thought was going to be good, or what did Jim Schwartz always say? Oh, man, we're going to get the curveballs now. We're going to get the changeups now. Last year was just all nothing but, fastballs. Okay, that's fine, but when you're getting beat in the trenches and you can't tackle anybody, the worst rushing offense in the NFL ran all over you yesterday.
You were like Mike Zunino at the plate right now if they're throwing us curveballs. Right.
Missing all that crap. What was that? What was the tackling on this team? And it's are you worried about penalties or this? Dude, I'll take a freaking penalty. If you got to do something to get a little dog back on this defense and get a little bite to what you're doing, take a freaking penalty. Take a freaking unsportsmanlike conduct, late hit, something. You got to fire. The tackling.
I will say, stop doing that on the quarterback. They're so undisciplined, too. Who was it? Isaiah McGuire hit Minshew in the head. Yep. And it was the same thing as the Newsome play. It's that's happened twice now.
Yeah. Final thing on the bad, the Hopkins miss. It changed the whole game. Hooked it. Extra point that is completely unacceptable. That you can't do that. I know they tried to break it down on the TV broadcast about what happened. That you are indoors. You cannot have that. And I know he aced that 58-yarder later. The thing is, I still believe in Dustin Hopkins. He's still your kicker. Like, you got to just set that aside and move on forward. But that miss was bad. That was really, really bad. Next up, the ugly, the holding call. It was weak. I'm not saying it wasn't holding. I'm not saying that by the letter of the law, it was not holding. That was weak. That was pretty weak on what the Browns got called on that. Yeah, I know the negated the touchdown and brought all that kind of stuff back, but I really thought that was a bad look. I thought that was a bad look. Not the NFL doesn't give a damn. The officials call it as they see it, whatever, fine. It was weak. It was weak. And it's not just me as a Browns fan sitting here saying it. He didn't tackle the guy. I know a lot of people are sitting there screaming, going, he didn't even impact the play. He wasn't even holding him. He was trying to hold him off from getting to Watson. He might have got to Watson. I don't know. But that was it. And then the final thing, the technical difficulty. So we start the game and everybody's sitting there going, where's the Browns game right now? So that's it. Wrapping it up. Good, bad, and the ugly. The good, Watson used his legs. He had some better throws. Myles Garrett still on 2 busted feet, was a game wrecker, and the Raiders uniforms are good. The bad, offensive line cannot handle stunts. Amari Cooper's bad, can't tackle. Hopkins missed, and the ugly was the holding call and the technical difficulties. There we are on a Monday edition of the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, can we take a break? Do we have the break?
I think we have a break.
Okay, let's do this.
I got something for Amari Cooper for you, too, when we get out of the break if you want it.
Yeah. You want to do it out of the break? Hold that.
Okay.
We'll go around the league a little bit. Like, we usually say that for Tuesdays now. But Rashee Rice, 20, which just sucks. So he's going to be out.
That plays into my Cooper thing, too.
Okay, good. So we'll get to that coming up. We'll do a little mini morning update, if you will, just some story. I do want to talk some guards, so we'll get to that. Baseball today is vitally important for the NL side of things. We're gearing up for playoff baseball. So we'll get a little morning update. We'll mess around with Time Hop. We'll see about the grid today. I think we might actually kind of take the week off the grid just because we have our giveaway this week already set, so we'll get to that. All right, let's catch our break. Stay with us. Fontana Show right here on Big Play. You can always follow us on Twitter X. We're up on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitch. Before we go, though, Monday's our biggest day. Tonight, are we allowed to say who the guest is on Big Play Cleveland Show?
Yeah, say it. Why not?
Rajay Davis, babies, tonight on the Big Play Cleveland Show. Big basketball guest over there on Come Get Some. And, of course, Hanford Dixon tonight, folks. Monday, a big day for us always on Big Play. Our brand new Big Play tailgate show. Zarella Booms and Bob Golick. Catch that. Folks, just follow us on Twitter at Big Play. Now, you might notice the Big Play GOAT has now taken over on Twitter. We'll explain what that is in the future, but keep an eye out for that. Folks, Big Play's where it's at. And one of the things that I love, the brand new Big Play app. You can sign in, like all the shows, boom, right there, done for you. All the shows are up there. Bobby Carpenter, Big Play Cleveland Show, The Return, Hanford. What do we got? Little Booms talking with Greg and Blake. And the thing is that I love, Padone, we have a 24-hour stream. So you want to go Big Play right now, come get some. Into Drennan, into Hanford's show, into the Big Play Cleveland Show, back into us. Like, there's a 24-hour stream of all of our content. And I don't talk about this enough, and I really should. It's all free. Nothing that we do is behind a paywall in any form, shape, fashion, none of it. It's on YouTube. It's all up on Twitter. It's all there for it. And it's meant for the fans. That's why. We don't want to gatekeep our content. It is out there for everybody. So go check it out. Big Play's the easiest thing to do. Go to our website. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. It's all there. And all the great shows that you want to know. All right, let's catch our break. Come back. Plenty to get to. Hour 2 upon us. Stay with us. Fontana Show right here in Big Play.
We've got...
You might have taken it out. All right, back here, Fontana Show. Follow us on Big Play. You can always drop a follow at Matt Fontana Show as well. We'll get to YouTube, Instagram, all that as well as we roll through. All right, I do want to do the morning update. I'm not going to throw that on Padone, but there's a lot of stories, and maybe you want me to run it? I got a bunch of stories I want to get to, so we'll get to that coming up. But you said you had an Amari Cooper take that you wanted to get to. I mentioned Rashee Rice.
What's crazy is it's not even a take.
It's not even a take. You just got it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Floor is yours.
Ben Axelrod just put out there that Adam Schefter this morning on ESPN linked the Kansas City Chiefs as a team that should trade for Amari Cooper and named Amari Cooper by name, that he's out there and could potentially be moved.
I mean, they lost Hollywood Brown, shoulder, he's done, and now Rashee Rice getting tackled by his own quarterback with a ACL right there. So, here, okay, you do that, you are waiving. I say, okay. I'll ask you, Padone. It may be a good question to ask people. If they traded Amari Cooper to the Kansas City Chiefs, would you view that as a waving of the white flag? Because initially I was going to scream yes.
I wouldn't.
But then I thought about it, and I go, he ain't going to be here.
Right.
It's probably the right business decision.
You know,
and you could go all in on Jerry Jeudy.
Though, Matt,
I don't know.
On the flip side of that, if your goal this year, which it should be, still, even though CBS threw up that graphic, whatever, 14% chance at the playoffs now at 1-3. But your goal, if you're paying Deshaun Watson all this money, it should still be playoffs, should still be Super Bowl. We know here in the AFC that runs through Kansas City.
Yeah.
And you're going to give them what's supposed to be your best offensive weapon to date. I'd have to be wowed.
No,
it would maybe have to be. This would never happen. To feel good about it, it would have to be their first round pick, and that's not happening. So
can I? Let's do it, but let's get down there. You get off of that money though, and you roll that money over, and you got to get rid of Deshaun Watson.
It does.
There's
it helps.
a little more cap space.
It helps.
Especially if you that's the beauty about the NFL. It ain't the NBA. You don't need equal money coming back. Oh, by the way, morning update, freaking Julius Randle, of course. Just the rich get richer. Go ahead. Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns, no problem. So they're working through that because they need all the money to work, right? They got to ship out this guy. They got to move that guy, whatever. You don't need to do that in the NFL. So if you traded him for just a draft pick, that's $20 million off of your cap this year. Now, it's prorated. It's not all of it. You get off of that money now. You are allowed to roll cap space over into the next year. And if you go to Deshaun Watson and ultimately make that decision, he's not your starting quarterback anymore. I go back and forth in the numbers. And I got to get Jack Duffin on this. Just follow me that it's $100 million that you owe Deshaun Watson.
Right.
If you do what's called a post-June 1 cut, you are allowed to spread that money over 2 years. So let's just call it 50 and 50. Well, you now have a little extra space if you decide to make that kind of move. So you can make that move for, I think, to be honest with you, several reasons. You could say, dude, we just aren't cooking right now. We are not clicking with Amari Cooper. And there's got to be some realization in this that maybe it's not going to work. And maybe Amari was better off with Joe Flacco and Baker Mayfield and Jacoby Brissett. Maybe that's just an unrealistic, or that is just reality. I think a big battle I'm having today, Nick, is what is reality? Is the reality that this team really does suck?
We don't know, Matt. There's no way to. What's crazy about
idea.
that, and it stinks, is it's September 30th. We don't know. And I, like you said about the Watson thing, it would be so easy to sit here today and blame Deshaun. It would also be easy today to sit here and say, definitively, we're not good. We should pull up mock drafts. We should start talking about Quinn or Shadur Sanders. But you can't. You cannot do that today because we've seen seasons be turned around. We've seen Kevin Stefanski drag Joe Flacco, Jacoby Brissett to playoff runs. It can't be over, but it would be easy to just throw your hands up in there and say we're not good anymore.
So then if you say we start there about it just isn't going to work, okay, that's one path. Hey, we tried this and it's not working. Number two path could be he is truly a malcontent and it's not working and it's just an infection in the locker room and we got to move on from that. I don't think that's the case. And then the third and maybe final one is this is just the right business move. Three things. If it really came out, and again, it starts with Adam Schefter this morning on ESPN saying he wouldn't be shocked if the Kansas City Chiefs came calling about getting Amari Cooper. If the Browns sat down, I think there's 4 things he can talk about. A, no, we're not, okay? B, yeah, it just really doesn't work from a football standpoint for one ungodly known reason or another. He ain't fitting right now. C, sorry, flipping the numbers here. Number 3, it's not good. He's pissed off. He's mentally broken. He didn't want to be here, and we're going to move on. Or D, the final one could be, this is just a right business move. We're going to get a draft pick for an aging wide receiver that's not under contract for next year. Probably 10 out of 10 general managers make that move.
The thing is, I feel like you would throw up in your mouth a little bit when you see what the draft pick's actually going to be.
3rd round pick.
Yeah,
They'd call
maybe.
For that. They'd call maybe for a 3rd. And they go, we're actually giving you the salary cap relief you might be looking for. And at that point, you would just be freaking out. And let's call that for what it is, too. Is that one of those moves that you're just making draft picks for another general manager? That's not the case. That's not when you have lame duck. I don't think we have a lame duck coach or general manager. I truly do not believe that. But that's maybe power towards Andrew Berry to sit there and say, what? This is the right football move. Now, inside that building, you got to know whether or not that is the case. And here's the thing, too. You don't need to make that move today.
No.
And even the Chiefs might sit there and say, all right, we've been dealt some cards, man. They're out Isaiah Pacheco. Clyde Edwards-Helaire just coming back. They lose Rashee Rice. They lose Hollywood Brown. Now, they have still Xavier Worthy, and they started throwing to Travis Kelce again and all that. And you look at the Chiefs, and you're like, man, they're so good.
Yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster still.
Yeah, right. Like, that's the thing. In a week or two, is that value the same, either higher or lower? They could go 2 weeks and go, we'll just throw it to Xavier Worthy. They go 2 weeks and go, oh, God, we got to get somebody else in here and get this done. Listen, I will never be upset at a general manager for picking up the phone. Never. You got to check. You always got to check. And if they came calling and they said, you know what? Hey, we're maybe going to think about this. Andrew better, damn well better pick up that phone and at least have that conversation. But, right, it's not just the draft pick. It's what does that message send to the rest of your team? And if you think it's going to galvanize them, or if you sit there and say, you know what, this season's just not going to go the way that it's go. They can't operate that way. They've got to come in there today and talk about what can we do to beat the Commanders? What can we do to turn this type of stuff around? The season is too early to be a foregone conclusion that it's over.
And that's why you can't make a decision. Like if they did the Amari thing today, I would almost be a little bit miffed, because to me, you've got to see at least 2 or 3 more weeks. Like in 3 weeks, call me after the Browns get back into Cleveland and play that game. And if he's still dropping passes and popping them up into defenders' hands, okay, then send him packing to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Even if it is for a 4th or 5th round pick, because at that point I'm looking at mock drafts and I got to find out how am I going to protect whether it's Deshaun Watson or whoever as we get into 2025. But right now I'm not willing to do that.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. There's a balance and a timing to all of this of what the Browns are going to do. All right, I ran over to CBS Sports this morning. Jeff Kerr did his overreaction or reality, fact or fiction on some of these things, okay? Let's run through a couple, including getting to the final one about the Cleveland Browns, but we'll play along here. Commanders are going to win the NFC East, fact or fiction? I think fiction.
I'm saying that's fiction.
I still think that's fiction. Next up, the Bears made a mistake by taking Caleb Williams over Jaden Daniels, fact or fiction?
Oh.
See, Jeff says reality.
I think that's reality too. I think that's reality.
Kind of crazy.
The Bears were just set up so well coming into this season. Those receivers, the talent that's on that defense, and really it's Caleb that's holding them back thus far.
Colts should move on from Anthony Richardson.
Too early.
That's I say, and then Jeff says the same thing. Overreaction.
Yeah.
Okay, he gets hurt, but they have the Browns syndrome there.
Too early, but the handwriting's on the wall.
Well, and the thing is, it's the same thing that it's Flacco, because they keep going, look what Gardner Minshew does and look what Joe Flacco does. But yes, I think that's too early for that. Doug Peterson will be the first coach fired.
I say that's fact.
I think so too.
It's Shad Khan. He doesn't mess around with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it's like, he's had enough to prove that, like, maybe if he was going to show something, he'd show something. They got a lot of talent down there. But I think when Peterson comes out and he's starting to say, well, players aren't out there, that kind of stuff, I get it. Fact or fiction, Sam Darnold is leading the MVP race right now.
No,
he says reality.
Well, okay, right now. I hate MVP in September.
Yeah, sure, I get it. I
guess true.
Yeah. Darnold becomes the 5th quarterback since 1950 to go 4-0 with 10 passing touchdowns, with his first 4 starts coming with that team. He is the first guy to do that since Patrick Mahomes in 2018. So that's pretty good one right there. Fact or fiction, Jalen Hurts will not be the starting quarterback for the Eagles week 1 next year.
Ooh, that's a spicy one.
You like that one? Fact or fiction?
Would you take him here? Fiction.
I would, yeah. I would.
I'm gonna say fiction.
They're
gonna say
I think he's gonna stay there.
Yeah.
I think he will too.
At least one more. They're not just gonna
just
throw him out
from him just yet. All right, final.
These
one.
are fun.
Yeah, I always love doing the overreaction or fact or fiction. Here's the final one. It's time to bench Deshaun Watson.
Oh,
Now, here's why I brought this up.
I just said I was having
held
fun.
this off for the first hour, Pino, and I get. We're both adjusting our seats because here we go, buddy. Here we go. That is one of the stupidest, most asinine things that I've heard after a game like that, all right? You have no choice but to keep starting Deshaun Watson. Do you want to know what pisses off some people? He's actually getting better. And I know the bar is so low right now, but this kind of crap is clickbait bullshit is what that is. There is no rationale, none, to bench Deshaun Watson right now. And I am not some Leroy Bickerstaff defender of Deshaun Watson. That ain't me, man. Look at all the other problems. That is clickbait. Any of this stuff that comes out about even considering to bench Deshaun Watson is not based in reality. That is just a fact. That is an unequivocal fact, okay? You want to talk about benching James Hudson? Fine, I'll do that all day. You want to talk about the issues with the wide receivers? Fine. Benching Deshaun Watson is in no way related to anything right now. Okay, you want to get pissed off about the $230 million contract and all the draft picks? I've been saying that for a long time, Nick. Let it go. There's no point in trying to bring that up. Well, he's paid $230 million. He's better, you better get these receivers up to snuff and all that kind of stuff. Let that go. Bro, I read that this morning and I was just like.
Wait, so did he say that's fact?
He said it's fact, 100%. Jeff Kerr, and I respect Jeff a lot. He goes, what is the first thing he says, Pino? The Browns are paying him $230 million. Yeah. Let it go, okay? At this point, there is no, and I'm not saying that you have this take at all or whatever. What would be the rationale? You would say it's the Panthers. We're going to find out if it's the offense or the quarterback. I will sit here and tell you, without needing to bench him, it's the offense, okay? It is. And you get drunk off of what Flacco did, and you get drunk off of what some other teams around the league have done, saying, oh, here comes your spark and all that. There is a giant game being played here. And this has got all the stakes on it about the future of your franchise, because when you bench Deshaun Watson, it's over.
And Matt,
it's done.
So Matt, here's where I'm at with that, because you said, like you're not sure if I had that take or whatever. Yeah. When Baker hurt his shoulder, I wanted to see him get healthy and get that next season, and I never got it. For Deshaun Watson, he hurt his shoulder.
Yeah.
I need to see him play all 17. I need to see him play this entire year out.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, if we're still having this conversation, where if there's still a little bit of a doubt, if the record's not what we want it to be, if the Browns frankly are in a position where they can draft the quarterback of the future, then at that point, I'll be willing to say, okay, do it. Yeah. But right now, and we're not even in October, you cannot bench him because you just don't know.
No.
Until I'm 100% sure, I'm not doing that. Or the one caveat in all of that is, if the guys start quitting and if it looks like Stefanski's going to actually lose the locker room, then you have to do it probably because you owe it to the rest of the team. Sure. But that's not the case here today.
No, I don't think it
is. If anything, they owe Watson some apologies this morning.
And you're so right on. There might be a time that happens. There might be a time that we get there for one reason or another that they sit Deshaun Watson down. And when they do, they will signal we are moving this direction with the franchise, and this is where we need to go. And I'd be lying to you if I didn't say, even as a fan, with it, dude, it's never easy, and it's taken years off of our life.
Yep.
I get it. And eventually, you want to know what I might just need? A reset. And that, unfortunately, will come with Joe Bitonio leaving and a couple other key players not being here anymore. Sometimes a reset is a good thing. You walk through a house and we can tear this out and do that. Sometimes calling the demo crew is the right option on that. Maybe we'll get there, but we're not there yet. And that decision does not need to be made right now. For people that are screaming, well, you know, you're going to kiss the season away. I got bad news for you. The season might be fried anyway.
Yeah. I would at least like to find out what my franchise quarterback could be.
If you're going to pull something out of this, you might as well pull that out of it.
Yep.
If you ain't going to make the playoffs, which now it does not seem like it's going to be the case, you damn well better get your answer on Deshaun Watson.
I would rather, and maybe this is an overreaction in its own right. I would rather trot Watson out there for the rest of the games, even if it meant he looks awful.
Sure.
And I'm absolutely embarrassing myself because then that way when the draft rolls around here in 200 days, Matt, I'd be able to sit in front of my television set and at least say with a straight face, they can take a quarterback and I'd be fine with it. Currently here today, I'm not there because I don't know. He looks fine sometimes when he's throwing the ball to Judy, but other times he holds on to the ball for 10 years and he looks like Brady Quinn. I just don't know yet.
You want what we all a clean cut, right? What have we not had with a lot of a clean cut? Dude, you know what Pro Football Talk just tweeted? The Browns never offered Joe Flacco a contract for this season. Did we not know that?
We
what
know.
Do you mean? Of course.
He did his whole press tour.
We know that.
We knew that.
We knew that. You had all these things that were not clean cuts. And I understand that at this point, it seems kind of clear that Deshaun Watson ain't it, but I don't know that for a fact. So you got to figure it out. Now, the thing is, all these variables that are going on, all these issues that you're dealing with right now, you got to ask yourself, well, is it really Deshaun Watson? Is it the offensive line? Is it the receivers? You got to try to figure that all out. But the other problem is those issues won't remedy themselves with Deshaun Watson leaving. Like, and again, I'm trying not to get too big picture in this whole thing. We need to turn this thing around right now. Bro, this offensive line ain't going to fix itself. You know, okay, you'll get Jack Conklin back. That's fine. You still have massive other issues here that Nick Chubb's not going to solve by walking through that door. Jack Conklin walking back this week, which God bless, he better play this freaking weekend. It ain't going to solve everything.
I tweeted this morning, though, what's difficult about the spot the Browns are in is right now your only option, as we sit here today on September 30th, is hope. Is hoping that you can get Jed Wills and Jack Conklin out there and they both return to form. At least you're probably
starting
at this
level,
point.
That's it.
Right. Starting level.
That's
at this point, you're probably at best going to have an average NFL offensive line.
You know, the next thing
they're not going to be world beaters.
No. And that's the next thing that's kind of maybe up for the Cleveland Browns, where I think they've been trying it this way. They've tried it a couple different ways. Eventually, you're going to have some mass. I'm beating around the bush here and I can't do that. Eventually, you might just need to tell this Ken Dorsey stuff to go kick rocks. And I'm not blaming him because I don't know. I have no idea what he's actually brought to the table. Kevin Stefanski is still calling plays. But, Nick, I go so much back to an interview that we did back in August with Warren Sharp. And Warren does all the football analytics.
I remember
and
this.
He told us straight up, bro, what Deshaun Watson does not mesh with what Kevin Stefanski does. Maybe we're just at a point that we need to break it off and try something completely brand new, where you need to walk in there, maybe today, take that playbook and rip it on up and say, we're going to try something else here. And what's that answer? I don't know, but I don't get paid millions of dollars to figure it out. Your coaches do. Got to figure it out. What do the Browns do well? Like, through these games, even in the win over Jacksonville, I am truly at a loss to answer the question, what do we do well?
No.
It's not consistent quarterback. You can't run the football.
The receivers aren't open.
Receivers
and when
aren't
they are,
open.
they drop it.
Njoku's hurt. Defensively, do you want to seriously, and I'm not trying to be, this isn't even like hyperbole. This isn't me trying to be crazy on something like that. The only thing the Browns do really well is Myles Garrett. That's it. Seriously. Special teams is fine, but you're missing kicks like you did yesterday. Like, when I really boil this down and I ask the question, what do the Browns do well? The only answer that I can come up with consistently is Myles Garrett. Maybe Denzel Ward.
They give us even more of a reason to really hope that the Guardians go
Oh my God, we got to do something, man.
That's what they do.
Let's definitely, not to do the morning update here, but we got to talk guards for a minute. Here's what we'll do. I'll do this. All right, let's talk guards for a couple minutes. I do have time hop for you today, so we'll run through that, and then we'll get to our Monday night bets for tonight. Okay, we got 2 games, which I just hate. I just want the one.
The thing is that I would like the 2 games. And I get you can't do it because of the West Coast. You can't play them both at the same time.
Right.
It's too hard to watch.
Well, that's
to be flipping back and forth. Stagger them. Just stagger them.
They need to stagger them more. They should start one at 6:30 and then go 8. So
that would be chalk for the West Coast.
7:30 and 8:15. Now the problem is Seattle is in Detroit. That'd be a little more palatable if you were in Seattle and you can get a 9 o'clock start.
Right.
So you got Titans, Dolphins. How are the Dolphins still favored in that game, by the way? They are. With Snoop
against Will Levis.
I know that. I kind of like the Titans in that game, but we'll get to that. And then the Seahawks-Lions, which should be a really great game. We'll get to that a little bit later. All right, so let's do that. We'll do time up in a minute. We'll get to our bets for tonight. We'll get geared up and ready to go. Guards, though. Dude, it sucks that Jose didn't get that chance to go for the 40-40, but I'm going to come off like a hater for a second here. And I know what Shohei Ohtani did was, like, great. And I'm not downplaying what Jose did. But it's like, when you hear 40-40, it's never the same thing. It's like, well, is it 40 steals and 40 home runs? Is it 40 doubles and 40 steals? Like, there's so many different things to get. Now, Jose had a chance to do something great. He's already on this list, right? Sarah Lang's had a lot of these tweets, right? He joins basically Shohei and Alfonso Soriano, right, for some weird 2 years that have like 38 home runs and 38 steals or 38 doubles and all that other kind of stuff. The accolades are great. And Jose probably will finish top 3 in the MVP voting, which is just fine. So I got to tell you, like, I'm sad, that he didn't get a look at it. And I kind of wanted that for him. I don't really care. Am I a bad fan for that? I don't really care. It's great. It's awesome. I think it's a little overblown. And it's not to be like, Jose is an amazing player. He will probably wrap it all up as one of the greatest, if not the greatest player to ever play for the Cleveland baseball team.
And for sure. I'd already be mapping out where that statue's going and what the pose
That's what I'm
going
to hold on to. This 40-40s, it's like, trust me, I was sad for him not to get it, but there were some people acting like the sky was falling, and I just really wasn't there.
Yeah, and it was probably because our brain was just so involved by the Browns. Yeah. But I'm with you. I would much rather have Jose, and of course everyone out there feels this way. Dude, match a couple homers in the playoffs. Take Verlander and the Astros deep a couple times.
Yeah.
And everybody will think that's way cooler than hitting 40 home runs in the regular season.
Well, and that's where this week is super important. So again, they've got to play these extra games today with the Mets and the Braves to decide some of their stuff.
That's so crazy.
Isn't that nuts that's where we're at? So again, those games are a true doubleheader at 1 and 4. They're the only 2 games we got. So you have nothing to worry about today. But tomorrow, you start to watch. You have a 2:30 Tigers-Astros. That's who you get. That is the winner that you will face in that series. Who'd you rather have?
We talk with Jensen every week, and I'm going to ask him about this on Big Play Cleveland tonight. Jensen continually says avoid Houston.
I get it.
Because they have been so hot and after they started off the season so poorly. But I mean, isn't that the exact argument that you could make about Detroit right now? Is they wouldn't even be in the playoff conversation had they not been this hot. I will say what the little bit of fear that I do have in the Tigers is game 1 with Scooble on the mound is tough.
Yeah. So he goes tomorrow versus Framer Valdez. I mean, that's a great pitching matchup that you're going to want to watch. The other one tomorrow night between the Royals and the Orioles, Reagans and Corbin Burns. Like, that's some good pitching matchups we got there.
Playoff baseball,
dude, it's so much fun. I love it. I do love
too.
it.
Every pitch just matters.
The thing I kind of want to avoid with the Tigers is that we played them so bad during the regular season, and it's like eventually once you see guys over and over and over again, I think that would kind of maybe tilt towards the Guardians to help out a little bit. I'm actually going to root for the Astros in there. And again, I would like to very much beat the Astros more. But we'll watch that tomorrow and see how it goes. Panone, I'm one. I think the time off is great. I think the time off is awesome for this team. They'll get their sim games in their watch. The thing that I'm going to watch more than anything, can you keep that swag? Can you keep that momentum? Can you keep that mental side of it, that when first pitch rolls around versus whoever it is, that you're back and locked in? And I think with where this Guardians team is at and what they've had to go through this season, I think their mental toughness is very high. And they had to go through some bad times, but they had some, Quan coming back the way that he did. You had some hot bats starting at the end of the season there to get into the playoffs. You'd say the time off could hurt. I'm the opposite, man. I think if this team could keep a little swag, keep a little going for them as they get going for that matchup, I think that's going to be awesome. I'm really excited for that. So we got that going.
We got some fun stuff to announce too for big play in the playoffs. So stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for that.
That could come honestly as soon as this show wraps up.
All right. We'll keep it locked in. Follow Big Play on Twitter and all that. Real quick, kind of around the league. We'll do a quick little morning update here. Chiefs fear that Rashee Rice has torn his ACL. We'll see on that one.
I hate those type of report. They fear because
they fear. They have a test that they do. They want the MRI to make sure all that kind of stuff.
When you fear, it's always bad.
Yeah. College football this past weekend. Good thing I didn't bet on that Georgia game. That was a hell of a fun game though, to watch.
Bama money line, baby.
I covered on Ohio State. Well done, Buckeyes.
Yes.
Dude, Michigan State's not good.
Not good.
Buckeyes are like, they're just kind of this like slow brew type of team. But you forget, like Quishon Judkins was getting all those carries, man. You forget how good Travion Henderson is. Dude. Jeremiah Smith, bro. Holy God.
That's unfair.
He's unfair. I'm going to get flack, just like I said, for Marvin Harrison Jr. There might be a time where I tell him, bro, you need to sit down. Don't even bother playing anymore. You've done all you need to do.
How about the state of college football right now? Because Bama's got the 17-year-old in Ohio State as a dude that's just a couple months older. Like, these young receivers are running the league.
Crazy.
Running NCAA.
And it's hard because you watch that and Georgia's still going to make it. Like, I think that's why I was, like, so worried about everything that was going on around college football. You take a little bit off these games because Georgia's going to make it again. Bro, they could even lose to Alabama again in the SEC championship game, and they're still being a 9 seed. Find me 5. I don't want to say 5. Find me 8 teams that are truly better than Georgia.
Yeah, come on. Like, because I know everyone's falling in love with, like, Utah and Kentucky and stuff. Put them on the field with Georgia and see what the spread on that would be, like, close to 20.
Come on. And it's like you talk about a time that, the Mountain West can go F themselves, all right? You stay away from Toledo and Northern Illinois. They're mad. Is there a time that an undefeated MAC champion can make it? Maybe.
I think so.
They will get smoked. Probably. Versus who they face. But we'll see. So, like, good weekend on that standpoint as well from a little college football. Other big news, Cavs, Media Day today. We're getting going. Carl Anthony Towns, man. And there was reports over the summer that they were sniffing around.
Yeah.
That the Knicks were sniffing around.
How about that? 2 big trades from the Knicks this offseason and going all in. I think they traded like 6 draft picks for Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
And then you double back and you get Carl Anthony Towns. I know a lot of people are like, oh, if you're scared about the Knicks now with Towns, you must not have watched much of the Timberwolves. The thing about Towns, take him or leave him, he's going to space the floor out for Brunson and for Bridges, and that's what the Knicks needed.
And I think that it got hard with the Timberwolves because we see it with the Cavs. I don't know if 2 bigs are truly the answer. And they were always going to stay with Gobert.
Now they got Gobert and Randall.
Yeah, now they got Gobert and Randall, which I think actually works a little bit better for them. I do.
I don't.
I do. I mean, if Julius Randle can stay healthy, I think that helps a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, the other thing too is they're not done. This trade is not done.
Right.
They have to move a lot of other pieces to make this money work. I'm thinking about maybe the Cavs. Is there something they could do with that? I don't know. Cavs Media Day today, though. I'm super excited to get some basketball back and rolling here with the Cavs. And I know Kenny Atkinson, on Friday, and he and Kobe Altman were talking, and they're all into the philosophical things and, hey, why we ran it back. I am super excited because I want to be proven that this team can work. I'm really going into this season. Here we are. It's media day, which I get. But, like, I'm going into this season wanting to win, certainly, but it's like this intrigue. And I think it's a positive intrigue. You know, I'm intrigued with the Browns. That is not positive right now. I got intrigued with this Cavs team. Prove me that this really is the right thing. Because I'm going to continue to sit here and say that not trading away Darius Garland was a mistake. I want to be proven wrong. I truly want to be proven wrong.
What's crazy is imagine if it works. Imagine if
love
Atkinson
it.
was the missing piece
it.
and DG comes back to form and Mitchell's still Mitchell and you're getting your money's worth out of Mobley. You know, unlock Mobley, which if we've been talking about as long as we've been talking about unlock Deshaun and Jared Allen's doing his thing. If it all works, and it's a big if,
that's a big
but if it all works, we're in for a fun winter and spring with our Cavs.
That's the thing, man. I mean, whatever happens here with the Browns, you got a team in the playoffs. You got another team that should be in the playoffs. We're fighting on forward. Let's get on through it. All right, let's do this. Run through a little bit of time hop this morning, and we'll come back, get our plays. I got all the stats ready to go for you. Nick Padone coming up for tonight on Monday Night Football. Do you have the intro for time hop?
I do.
All right, let's hit it. Let's go. Good. Back? Here we go. All right, let's do it. Let's go through a little bit of time up. You're on the 30th of September, final day of the month for us. And we go on back to 2020. Indian season comes to an end. We fought to the Yankees 10-9. The interesting part about that game, Nick Padone, that was the final game for Francisco Lindor in a Cleveland uniform this day, 2020.
We didn't know it at the time, Matt. We didn't.
No, I mean, you kind of, again, it was circling. You kind of felt, you know, the problem is with a lot of those that you have that inevitability and you try to avoid it as best you can, but knowing that it's the right thing. And I think about, you know, where this team is at right now, and even what Lindor is doing, had an MVP second half of the season before he kind of got hurt. Like, and I do wish him well. Like, I've got no ill will. And I think it's in part because you sit there and you see where this team is at. But, bro, could you imagine Jimenez, Jose, and Lindor?
It stinks that.
But you wouldn't have gotten Jimenez because he was part of that trade.
You wouldn't have. It does sting that still shortstop feels like, and Rogio kind of turned it on a little bit at the end of the season, but it just stinks that still really is the missing link, especially after how many experiments they've thrown at that shortstop position. It does sting a little bit.
Well, you got to have the glove. If he ain't going to have the glove, you got nothing for him. That's one of my things this week. Being kind of, I guess, like a little bit of a nerd, that I do this roster. What they do with this roster and who they put on and who they take away and what you're doing with Gavin Williams and Cantillo and if you can bring Tristan McKenzie back and all that other kind of stuff. I'm really interested to see what this Guardians lineup is going to be. Well, I guess roster coming out for the playoffs. We go back this day, 2019, a report out that Vontaze Burfict was facing a season-long suspension for his conduct on the team. I think the craziest thing about Vontaze Burfict was that in a league that you have the biggest, fastest football players that you could ever have, there was still a guy out there being a bully, which is just crazy. Leading with the head and all that. The NFL is always going to try to clean the game up, but there are guys out there that are headhunters, you know, and they get that label, and I'm just shocked that Burfict, frankly, lasted as long as he did going out there, but he faced that least season-long suspension. I remember this game vividly, Nick. We go back to 2018, Browns-Raiders. The 45-42 overtime game. Nick Chubb had 3 carries for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. Carlos Hyde had a touchdown. Baker threw 2 touchdowns. Derek Carr threw 4 touchdowns in that game to get to overtime. They kicked the field goal and get the win. I remember that game because it was what? Nick Chubb running everywhere all over the baseball field. Remember
no
that?
gloves.
With no gloves.
Yeah, all over the baseball field.
Uniforms.
And I remember the Browns lost. I remember being like, how did Chubb only have like 3 carries in that game when every time?
Well, technically, like Carlos Hyde was still the starter.
They traded Carlos Hyde like almost immediately after that.
You know, don't forget too. So they scored a touchdown with 30 seconds to go to tie the game.
I want to say, was it Hunter Renfrow?
Jordy Nelson.
Wow.
No, I'm sorry. The touchdown was Jared Cook. And then Jordy Nelson got the 2-point conversion. Then we took the ball. Baker threw an interception. Now they needed out. Like all we had to do was get back into field goal range. But we were at midfield. We took a timeout with 14 seconds to go. and we were at midfield. Baker tried to feed it to Antonio Callaway, and it got picked
Wow.
off. They took a knee. Now, the thing is, they got the ball in overtime. They drove all the way down for a 50-yard field goal. They missed, gave the ball back to us. We went 3 and out. They eventually drive back down for the game-winning field goal.
Yep.
That was this day, 2018.
Crazy.
Are a big golfer? No, not really.
No,
Do you know
not
about the
really.
Ryder Cup, though?
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
the
know about the
President's
Ryder.
Cup this past weekend.
Yeah.
Do you know about the meltdown at Medina? That happened this day, 2012. So I'm trying to do a little try to do like a comparison here. So we went to Sunday singles with a 10-6 lead. Europe beat us 8-3-1 on a Sunday to win the Ryder Cup. So that's why they call it the meltdown at Medina this day, 2012. This day, 1995, talk about 50-50 clubs. Albert Bell did it. He joins the 50 home run, 50 double club and became the first player in modern history to do that in 1995. The Thrilla in Manila. Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, the Philippines, 100-degree temperatures this day, 1975. Muhammad Ali got the win after he said, I felt like I was going to die. 100-degree temperatures with high humidity. And he's boxing Joe Frazier this day, 1975. This day, 1972, there's a sad one. That Roberto Clemente doubles for his 3,000th hit. And that would be his final one. He would pass away a few months later. So his final hit this day, 1972. This day, 1955, 24-year-old James Dean passes away in a car crash. This day, 1947, the World Series broadcasted on TV for the very first time. It was all New York affair. The Yankees beat the Brooklyn Dodgers 5-3. In Game 1 of the World Series, 1947. This day, 1934, Babe Ruth played his final game for the Yankees. He wanted to manage, but they wouldn't allow it, so then he played one more year for the Boston Braves before retiring. Also, this day, 1927, for Babe Ruth, he had his 60th home run, becoming the first player to reach 60. Very happy birthday goes out to tennis star Martina Hingis, Pac-Man Jones, Max Verstappen, Ezra Miller. Yeah, well. The Flash sucked. T-Pain, baby. Marion Cotillard, Barry Williams, who played Greg Brady on the Brady Bunch, Eric Stoltz, Johnny Mathis, and Truman Capote, all celebrating birthdays today. All right, you want all TV shows for you today. You ready?
Yeah, I'm
All
ready.
right, first up, a streaming television show. This day, 2016. People were really angry when this show got canceled, and eventually it was revived, but it was part of the Marvel Universe 2016.
Ooh. What is it?
Luke Cage. Remember when Luke
I do
Cage
remember
came
that.
out? Everybody
Yep.
was freaking out about that.
Yep.
All right, next up, a television show this day. No, these are all before your time, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. All right, this day, 1984. It's an American drama series. Usually these ones, I just like to read you the Wikipedia, so I don't I don't mislead you. So here's what it is. Series focuses on the life of a mystery writer and amateur detective who becomes involved in solving murders that take place in her fictional town of Cabot Grove, Maine. The series ran for 12 seasons, starting this day, 1984.
12 seasons, so it must have been pretty good.
It was pretty good. I read the intro.
I have no idea.
The intro is a great, I don't know why 80s TV shows had such great intros. It had a lot to do with, there was a typewriter because she was an author. She was an author. And then she would go out and solve these mysteries.
Dude, I still have nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Angela Lansbury?
No, nothing.
Murder, She Wrote. You ever heard of Murder, She
Heard
Wrote?
of it,
Heard
but
of it.
nev-
That started
never
this day,
watched it.
1984. All right, next up, you might be able to get this one. This day, 1982.
You got a lot of faith in me.
I do. I got no choice, man. I'm all for this. This one you might be able to get. This surrounds a former Boston Red Sox pitcher who buys a bar.
Oh, what?
A former pitcher for the Boston Red Sox buys a bar in Boston. And this whole show is surrounding the characters at said bar.
Dude, I have no idea.
What? Come on. You got it. Okay. Cliff.
Matt, I've got nothing for
What?
you, dude.
Coach, Carla, Norm. They go where everyone knows your name, Nick.
No, I
Nothing?
got nothing.
Cheers.
Okay.
Cheers.
Again,
Cliff
heard
Clavin,
of
Norm-
it, never seen it.
So I went to Boston. So there's two things. So you know the outside I don't know if you've ever seen the outside shot of Cheers. There's two things. There's a bar that is the outside shot. So when you go to Boston and you tell somebody, I want to go to the Cheers bar, they'll send you to one of two places. They will either send you to the actual hole-in-the-wall basement bar that is the outside shot of Cheers. Then they did a studio recreated interior Cheers bar. Went to both. I like the first one better. It's literally the sign. You go down these stairs. It's a small-ass bar, but it's really cool. Then we went to the one where they recreated the TV set of the show, and that one's fine.
Dude, I don't know if Ryan's ever, because Ryan like is a little bit more hip to that kind of stuff. But like I didn't really watch a whole lot of TV.
Really?
You know?
See, like it's interesting because you're older than Ryan, but you guys are still younger than me by a lot. So like some of the shows that you and I cross over a little bit more because like we'll have those like Full House or like we had Wonder Year or Boy Meets World, was one, and it was funny because I'm a bad millennial. I don't like those. Like I hate Full House. And it's like I'm a bad millennial because I don't like Full House. I liked Wonder Years more than I liked Boy Meets World. So it's just kind of your taste. Now, like Power Rangers, I'm all in.
Power Rangers for sure.
SpongeBob, like that.
For sure.
You're right. It's all just like a difference of what you watched growing up. But yeah, these are all way before your time.
How about it? Did you watch any Drake and Josh?
No, I did. I knew of it.
Okay.
Like of those, I got to tell you, of Nickelodeon, I only ever watched animated stuff.
Okay.
I can't tell you. Well, Legends of the Hidden Temple was great.
That was cool.
I loved that.
And
show.
I was young, so like I was young when that show was.
Then. Like Goosebumps. I fucking loved Are You
Goosebumps
Afraid of the
cool.
Dark was so good. So like, yeah, Drake and Josh didn't do it for me. All of that was fine. Kenan and Kel was fine. But like of all the TV shows I really watched growing up, it was a lot of Power Rangers, you know, and it was a lot of Batman. I love Batman, so that's where it's at. So yeah, Nick really kind of didn't do all that. I remember the Amanda Show. I remember again, all that, the kind of spinoffs. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they're not shows that I sat down like every week and I was like, I liked Fresh Prince. I liked I remember TGIF. I love Fresh Prince. You had Family Matters. You had Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. What's the other one I was thinking of? Anyway, but we'd sit down and watch those. Those ones were fine. All right, we'll see if you can get this one because it's a TV show, but it's also an institution. Came out this day, 1960. And we're saying it's way before your time. This was an animated television show that followed a particular family set way back in time.
Ooh.
Set way back in time. Broadcast on ABC starting this day, 1960. And it holds the mark as the first ever animated series to have a prime time slot on television.
Huh.
A Family of the Past is my hint for you.
A Family of the Past is what I keep getting tripped up on.
Family going back in time, if you will.
I have no... Dude, what?
So there was one family, then their best friends lived next door.
Twilight Zone?
No.
That's not animated.
No, it's not animated. It's not. That's all right. There's been spinoffs. They made a couple of movies of this. I don't know if this would help you or not. Hanna-Barbera was the one.
Oh, it's the Jetsons.
Nah, close. Go the other way. Jetsons were in the future. These people were set far in the
Flintstones.
Past. Flintstones, correct. I gave you the one. Nice job, Nick. That's all I ask. The Flintstones are correct. This day, 1960. Nothing holds a candle to the OG Scooby-Doos, though. Jetsons were fine. Flintstones were all right. Tom and Jerry, good. Dude, the OG, which I think are still streaming somewhere. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? The animated series. Where is that streaming? I got to watch it. Watch show. Is it on Max? It's on Max. Let's go. I know what I'll be watching this later. Scooby-Doo is where it's at. But yes, the Flintstones are correct, so I'll give that to you there.
Nice. Saw one go through.
What's that?
Saw one go through.
That's it. That's all you need. That's all you need. One to go through there, and that's all we need. We need one to go through tonight for a little bit of Monday Night Football. You are going to make your picks for Ryan. I didn't add him up. I'll do it tomorrow.
Okay.
I got to tell you, man. I kind of got I have 500 this weekend.
Yeah.
Here's the ones that cost me. Last night, that was just idiot of me. I just thought the Ravens would have something there. I didn't think the Commanders were going to do that to the Cardinals the way that they did.
That one was crazy.
Bro, the Bucks, and I'm not saying that she's like cash that. The Bucks were my lock. I was like, they were down Lane Johnson. They were missing A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
And you got to give credit to the Eagles for still showing up for that a little bit.
Yep.
How the did the Jets do that?
That one got me.
I got to tell you, a coach that might get fired before Doug Peterson, Robert Saleh.
Yeah,
Not
that's a
big believer
sleeper.
in him.
That's a sleeper, especially too, Matt, because with
Say
Aaron
what you're gonna say, yes.
with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, you
wants
are
racket.
on the
Yeah,
clock.
yeah,
Like
you
you've got to
are
do
on
something
it.
this year. We're
100%.
talking about looking ahead. I mean, about teams that could be looking for quarterbacks in mock drafts coming up. Like there's a team.
Yep. Oh, absolutely, 100%. All right, we start 7:30 tonight. Tennessee with the fighting Will Levises heading down to face on Tyler Snoop Huntley and the Miami Dolphins. I have this one, Nick Padone. I just want to make sure it wasn't updated this morning. I want to give everybody the actual lines for this. 2.5 for the home point, Miami Dolphins. Here we go. The Titans would actually become the 13th team to be starting 0-3 and actually be listed as a road favorite. That did not happen here, though, even though some people thought. Teams in that prior situation were 8-4 straight up, 6-4-2 against the spread since 1990. The Dolphins have lost 2 straight games to the Titans for the first time in 20 years.
Wow.
Overall, the Dolphins have lost 3 straight home night games on the money line, 2 to the Bills and 1 to the Titans. Prime time at home for Miami. Maybe not what you want to see. Okay, so here's a stat about coming back out of the Pacific Northwest.
Yep.
The last 4 years, teams that leave Seattle are 19-6 against the spread in their next game. Profitable payout as that road favorite there. Or sorry, not road favorite, but come back out.
Yeah, road.
Teams to open as underdogs and close as the favorite, which again, they keep listing them as the favorite here, but I've got the Titans being the favorite.
Correct. No, I've got the Dolphins as the favorite.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. That one's
Yep.
one that I think they were favored early, and then they flipped here. We know Skylar Thompson not going to get the start here, so it's going to go over to Snoop Huntley. Will Levis has made 12 starts in his NFL career. He is 8-4 against the spread in the first half of games. Nick, he's 1-11 in second half covers. So normally that tells you can take him in the first half.
Yeah.
You don't close all that
Matt,
good.
you're talking me in the Titans money line here.
I like the Titans a lot for this game. I like them a lot.
All right.
Miami's lucky to be 1-2 after a massive comeback in week 1 on the Jags. 2 bad losses without Tua Tagovailoa. They haven't won a playoff game since 2000. That is the longest drought without a playoff win and the 3rd longest in the 4 major sports. Only the Reds in baseball, the Hornets in basketball, and the Raiders are in the same realm as the Dolphins winning a playoff game, which is what they need to get to eventually. Extended rest. Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins have been favored in all 6 entering last week. They're now dogs. Again, they're not dogs. It flipped over. These are all my stats that I think they're got to be outdated here because they put this out. This is the Action Network, so they put it out a little bit later. Dolphins are 0-2 against the spread at home this
They got
season.
you on that early SEO rank.
Yeah, they got that. So I guess some of these really aren't kind of cooked up the right way. All right, call it. I'm going to go Titans. I'm with you. I'm taking the Titans money line in this.
I probably will end up.
If you give me the
doing
points,
same.
we're going to take the points anyway, so I'll take the 2.5 there.
Yeah, I'll end up doing the same. How about they have it on DraftKings, the percentage of bets placed?
Yeah.
Right now, 51% of people on the Titans, 49% on the Dolphins. So, I mean, literally a coin flip.
Like, I don't know. It's kind of stinky. It's kind of stinky because, like, all you got to do is throw it to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. It shouldn't be that hard.
And we know Huntley could do that. If anyone knows it, it's us.
I was so in on the Titans. I don't know if I am anymore. I need to place my bet. All right, I'm taking the Titans. I said the Titans. I'll take them plus the 2. Now, the marquee game tonight, 8:15, Lions, Seahawks. I've got this at an even 4.
I got that
for
as
the
a
home
4,
Lions.
bro.
I'm going to tell you right now before you get into the trends, Seahawks. I love the Seahawks. They're going to get Kenneth Walker back for this game. The over-under is 47. Kind of maybe like the over in this one. We'll see. When his time in LA, Jared Goff has a lot of history with the Seahawks. It's not good. He's only 4-7 against the spread in his career against Seattle. That is the least profitable team for Jared Goff. He's lost his last 3 starts and against the spread against the Seahawks dating back to 2020. Let's talk about prime time. Geno Smith in his career night road games is just 2-4 straight up. He is 3-3 straight up on Monday Night Football. Jared Goff, though, at home in primetime games is 12-3 straight up in that position, including an impressive 5-2 straight up on Monday Night Football. Goff has won 8 consecutive home night games, his last loss coming to the Ravens in 2019. As a favorite in primetime games, Jared Goff is 16-4 straight up, winning by an average of 6.5 points. That includes a 7-game straight up win streak going back to 2020. The Lions and the Seahawks have actually played each other in each of the last 3 seasons. They have combined for 68, 93 and 80 points in those 3 prior games. So I think maybe just take the over in that on top of where you're going to go. Extended rest for both these quarterbacks. Geno Smith coming in 7-6 against the spread in his last 13 games with extended rest on the road. Jared Goff, extended rest, is on an 18-11-2 against the spread, covering in his last 6 straight games. The Seahawks are the first team to start 3-0 and allow fewer than 150 passing yards in each of their first 3 games since the 1979 Steelers. Geno Smith, as a dog in his career, is 22-17-2. Kenneth Walker coming back. Seattle just 6-9 straight up when he doesn't play or has fewer than 10 carries. When he does play and more than 10 carries, they're 15-7 straight up. I'm going to roll with the Seahawks. I like that gut pick there. I like them, but I really like the over in this one.
I'm going with the Seahawks as well. Lions are a quiet, weird team.
Yeah.
And Seattle's undefeated. People don't realize. I mean, Detroit barely beat the Cardinals, who were just decimated by Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
They lost to Baker and the Bucks. And then they snuck by the Rams, who were without Kupp and Nakua.
Yeah,
so
no, and I really like. I never give the Lions the credit that they probably deserve. I think Seattle's a quiet sleeper in this whole thing.
I do too.
Man. They have so much talent on that offense, and that defense is doing what they're doing.
And Geno just does what he needs to. Geno's a very smart quarterback.
You're right. So I like it. So we're both locked in. We will take both the dogs tonight. Tennessee, which I don't like, but I like Seattle very much, and we'll get it there. All right, great stuff. Really appreciate you coming in, Nick.
We made it happen.
We made it happen. I really appreciate you and Pat so much. We'll be back tomorrow, one way or another, for a 2 for Tuesday. We'll hear from the Browns. We'll try to turn this whole damn thing around tomorrow. Don't forget tonight, Big Play Cleveland show. Jensen Lewis. We'll also have Rajay Davis stopping by, a legend on the basketball side of things, stopping by tonight, and come get some. And don't forget Hanford Dixon as well. Just follow us on Twitter at Big Play or subscribe to the YouTube channels. It's all there. We got you covered. For Nick Padone, I'm Matt Fontana. As always, take it easy.